Welcome back. In this episode, I'm going to answer the question, how to find a good fixer-upper home. Well, folks, there's a lot of them, so I'm going to cover a lot of different areas here, but hang in there. I've been involved in the business for over 30 years, and I specialize in tax liens and tax deeds, but I came from the foreclosure business, so I'm going to give you some insight into properties that are good fixer-upper homes that you can buy in many different arenas. So as I say, I've been at this for more than 30 years, and I know what you want. You want to get the worst house on the street, and you want to make it look the best on the street, and you want to make a bundle. Well, I'm okay with all that, but be careful if you're watching those television shows, because that pretty girl is standing there talking to all those contractors with her husband, and they do a lot of work, and I know it looked like the worst house, and suddenly it looks like a mansion, but that costs a lot of money. You're probably not going to afford to be able to be in that kind of business. All right, so real estate is wide open. There's going to be plenty of good fixer-upper homes. Now, where could you find those homes? Well, you can find them on Craigslist if you wanted. You can find them in the local newspaper. Okay, this is a business. When you decide you want a good fixer-upper, you should be spending your time on research. So let's try to give you a lot of places to research, like the newspaper, like the county records, like the electronic sites. They're all going to have properties. You're going to have to put in the time. All right, now, if you're hoping that you're going to get a property that you can just paint, repair, and clean up, maybe put a little white picket fence around it, that's what the average family thinks about. You know, they talk about that. You're going to paint it, clean it up, cut the grass, put a little white fence around. That does work. However, you're not the only competitor in the market. So you need to have a little more insight into it than just thinking about that one deal. So what are you really going to do with this property? You need to think about that. Are you going to buy it because you're going to rent it? Are you going to buy it because you want to sell it quickly? So what makes up a good fixer-upper? Is it just the price for you, or is it the location? You know, I look at location, I tell everybody, well, look, the location is more important to me than the property, because I can fix the property, I can't fix the location. Think about that a little bit. So what is your criteria? Are you buying it so you can quickly sell it? Are you buying it so you could rent it? Are you buying it so you could create an installment sale? Are you buying it to live in? The question we're answering today is how to find a good fixer-upper home. It's going to take research. You're going to have to think about what your strategy is and whether you want to get rid of it, whether you want to hold it, whether you're going to finance it. What are you going to do with it? If you're just going to buy it to sell it quickly, then maybe you just want to be a wholesaler and sell it to fixer-upper guys. I'm not against any part of the market that you want to be involved in, but you need to spend your time on research. You can't just say how to find a good fixer-upper and then slap your hands and it's going to be done. All right, now, you can buy books on how to fix it up. You can buy a book on how to manage it. You can buy a book on how to sell it. You need to spend time on how you're going to research it to make the best deal. Now, if you want to buy a property and rent it, you're probably going to have to fix it up. So think about that. Do you have the money to do all that? Rent-to-own's pretty popular. I have many of my clients buy low, and then they do a little repairs and clean them up, and then they sell them to guys that can fix them up, or they sell them on installment sales. You can do all of the same kind of things. Now, there's going to be plenty of properties available. HUD, which is Housing and Urban Development, will have thousands. The brokers can help you find those. Veterans Administration, brokers can help you find those. There's always Craigslist. There's always all the electronic sites. There's always your local newspaper. There's always the local real estate clubs. All of those people will have properties for sale. The key is, don't just buy one because you think it's great. Buy it for whatever the reason was. Did you buy it because it was the right price? Or did you buy it because it was the right location? Or did you buy it because you're going to sell it quickly? Or did you buy it because you're going to live in it? The point is, if you're not asking yourself these questions, then you might be buying a property that you shouldn't be thinking about. All right, now there's a whole huge foreclosure market nationwide. Thousands and thousands of lenders are suing people that signed a bank note, they signed a promissory note, and now they're not meeting their commitment. So what's happening? The banks are suing them. So in your county, if you had a low population, you're going to find anywhere from 1 to 2 foreclosure auctions every week to a county that has a large population that might have 1 or 2 or 5 every day. So there's going to be plenty of those properties. Some of them would be the absolute perfect good fixer-upper for you. Some of them will sell at 20, 30, and 40% below the market. Now, does that leave you enough room to do what you want to do? All right, so you've got to give this a little thought. I think of location first, then you can go to price, but it's going to be up to you to how you're going to do that. There will be massive foreclosure in all markets if the banks stop pushing money out and the federal government isn't pushing money out, then the market's going to settle down. And what will happen is people want to sell, can't sell, and sometimes when they can't sell, they just walk away. It goes for the foreclosure. Then there's going to be other properties. People get sick. We've just been through COVID, and who knows, some of those people way behind in their payments. So there's always going to be plenty of foreclosures. My point is, if you want to find a good fixer-upper, you just have to become a researcher. Why? Plenty of foreclosure sales in your market. In a market with a big population, there's even more. You could go to the Department of Agriculture. They'll tell you, hey, we got properties we want to sell. Some of these small farms go broke. You're going to find foreclosure signs all over the United States. You're going to find those in not only government properties, but just in bank properties. All properties that go in foreclosure have to be noticed, and that's always going to be in the newspaper. So just a newspaper could get you started. You could be in the business looking right away with just a newspaper. There's going to be plenty of it. All right, now the next big challenge for people is not just the location or where they're going to fix it up or what they're going to do with it, but when it comes to what you're going to do with it, what is your exit strategy and what are you going to sell it for, and what reason are you selling it? Are you selling it because you just don't want it? Are you trying to make a profit? Are you trying to do an installment sale? You're trying to do a rent to own? All those are things that you need to be thinking of in the buying process. Everybody thinks that they're just going to buy and it's going to quickly sell. If you don't have an exit strategy, forget it. Don't buy it because you're going to get yourself in trouble. There's lots of good foreclosures. There's lots of good fixer-upper properties. There's lots of auctions. Are you just after the lowest price or you're after the best location? What are you trying to do? You don't want to buy just because you think it was the best price. But let's think of the main sources of how to find a good fixer-upper. Think about foreclosure sales. Think about government properties, that would be HUD, HUD. Think about VA, that would be Veterans Administration. Think about Department of Agriculture. I'm giving you a lot already. Think about looking at your newspaper. Think about looking at Craigslist. Look at listings that are out there. Some properties would be good fixer-uppers that are people just trying to sell in the regular market. You're not going to lack property. There's always an abundance of properties. All right, remember, location means what's the neighborhood? You're going to buy neighborhoods, not houses. You can fix the house. You can't fix the neighborhood. You don't want to forget that. There's going to be discounts, 20, 30, 50% easily on these properties. Those properties are going to require fix-up. So figure out what is that going to cost you, but know what you're going to sell it for. All kinds of people getting divorced, people going to bankruptcy. They want to get rid of their property. Okay, now if you're going to be a buyer, have you figured out how you're going to finance it? If you don't know that, you better figure it out before you do anything. All right, if you got a bad FICO score, if you got a low credit score under 500, well, you better think about what you're doing because people aren't going to want to finance you. Now, HUD and the Veterans Administration, some of those government agencies, they're pretty benevolent. They might help you out with that, but you need to think about that before you jump into that market. You need to know where your money's coming from. HUD is easy to work with. They've got lots of houses. You might not get the exact one you want, but they have plenty to work with, and they finance people, and they finance people that don't have good credit in all instances. Well, I've been lucky myself. 30 years ago, I found a market which was called tax defaulted property. So imagine yourself buying a property from the county for just the back taxes. So let's say the back taxes were $8,000 or $10,000. I'm sure you'd like to pay that for a $200,000 house. All right, so I'm talking today about how to find a good fixer-upper. Well, there's lots of places. I'm partial to the tax auctions. Why? Because they're selling property for close to the back taxes with no mortgage. So I want to be at that auction if I can. Now, is every property there a good one? No. So the research is going to be the most important thing that you're going to learn how to do. Where are you going to find these properties? Well, I'm going to tell you, there's 100 million properties across the United States. So many foreclosures are going to happen, but I'm going to tell you 2% of those 100 million properties, 2% of them are going to tax auctions. 3,000 county auctions take place every year. There's 3,000 counties and 1,400 municipalities. Okay, I'm going to do 2 questions before I finish. I'm running out of voice. Well, the auction process is the same, but they'll have different rules about how they're going to do things. So let me say it to you this way. Read the rules and know what the rules for the particular auction you're at. Why? Well, I went to an auction in Maryland, and my friends went to an auction right next door, different counties. One county was selling tax liens for 12%, and the other county was selling for 24%. Now, that's a lot of difference, 12 and 24%. And they hadn't read the rules, so they were buying at 12%. I read the rules, and I was buying at 24. Is that enough reason? Yes. It'll be the same thing. So you want to check, and so you know what's going to happen at that auction. What happens to properties that aren't sold, they put them on what they're going to call it. This won't be the exact name in your county. They might call it a leftovers list, or a forfeited lands commission list, or a surplus lands list. But the county will have those that didn't sell. So when you go to the county, you say, I'd like to know I'd like to see and research the properties that did not sell at the auction. And then they will take you to that list, and you can look it up on your computer, and then you can go look at those properties. Okay, so I'm all done for today, except for 2 things. I want to tell you 2 big mistakes take place at auctions. I don't want you to make these mistakes. Mistake number 1, people go to the auction and they bid on a property they haven't seen. Folks, you wouldn't marry the woman if you hadn't seen her. So don't buy a property if you haven't seen it. Why? There might have been a fire. It might be next to a chicken farm. You wouldn't want that smell every day. Okay, you wouldn't want to buy it if it had a windstorm and blew all the windows out and it was water damage. You wouldn't want to buy it if there had been a fire. You're getting the idea. So you don't want to go to buying a property that you haven't seen. The next thing you want not to do is you don't want to get involved in the sale, start raising your hand to bid, and you don't have an exit strategy. You will control your bidding if you know what you can sell for. If you don't know what you can sell for, don't buy it. You need to have an exit strategy. Otherwise, you'll bid too high and you won't have margin. I'm Ted Thomas. See you on the next video.